Hello dosto, this is Ricky and you're watching Nursing Gola.
Yeah.
Today we are going to discuss about a psychological condition that is sexual and gender identity disorder. This video is brought to you by Leena Pranusha. Before getting into the topic, I want to make a clear note on two terms, that is sex and gender. And what do you mean by sex? Sex is an objective biological variable. We have the categories like male, female, and intersex, whereas the gender is the psychological variable which include the subjective identification of male or female or transsexual. According to an analysis of national probability samples in 2016, there were 390 per 1 lakh adults who were transgender. However, it also suggests that future surveys will probably observe a higher prevalence. The gender identity disorders are defined as disorders in which an individual exhibits marked and persistent identification with the opposite sex and persistent discomfort with his own sex or sense of inappropriateness in the gender role of that sex. For example, if a man is suffering with gender identity disorder, he may have the persistent discomfort of being a male. I hope you understand what it means. Let's move to the classification. You can see 4 types of disorders on the screen or classified under sexual and gender identity disorders. The first one is gender identity disorders. We have transsexualism, gender identity disorder of childhood, dual role transvestism, and intersexuality. Meaning of all these terms can be shown on the screen, but I will tell you the meaning in general terms. If a person is said to be transsexual, he feels emotionally and psychologically that they belong to the opposite sex. Gender identity disorder of childhood is a similar form of transsexualism, but it will happen in the early stages of life. In dual role transvestism, the person will be wearing the clothes of opposite sex. If a person is intersexual, he will be having anatomical characteristics that are neither typically male or typically female. And next we have psychological and behavioral disorders associated with sexual development and maturation. And again, we have 2 categories in this classification. First one is homosexuality. Homosexuality is a romantic attraction, sexual attraction, or sexual behavior between members of the same sex or gender, whereas the bisexuality is a romantic attraction towards both males and females or to more than one sex or gender. Next, we have the disorders of sexual preferences, and we call them as paraphilias. And you can see the types of paraphilias on the screen. Let's go to check one by one. Fetishism. In this, the person may have the sexual attraction towards a non-living object, whether it may be clothes or garments. Transvestism is a sexual arousal occurs by wearing the clothes of opposite gender. In sexual sadism, a person will get sexual excitement and orgasm by stimulating suffering of another person. In exhibitionism, a person will have the sexual arousal by exposing their body to unsuspected strangers. Voyeurism is the practice of gaining sexual pleasure from watching others naked. Preterism specifically deals with the fantasy or actual behavior of making sexual contact with others in a public place. Let's move on to the next classification, that is sexual dysfunctions. The meaning of rigidity is the inability of the woman to attain orgasm during the sexual intercourse. Impotence. It is a medical condition in which a man is unable to have children. It is the emission of semen occurring just before or shortly after beginning of sexual intercourse. Vaginismus is a purely psychological condition which is caused by the spasm of levator ani muscle which encircles the lower third of the vagina. Dyspareunia is also called a painful intercourse. There will be persistent or recurrent genital pain that occurs just before or during or after intercourse. And here are the nursing interventions that you can note down. And thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe the channel for more support and for more updates, and click on the bell icon to get notification. You can follow me on Instagram, link is given below.